Hey, welcome, welcome. This is Joel Lewis, the Startup Dad headquarters, and today I'm very honored to have my guest on the show, Kary Oberbrunner, and let me just give you a little quick bio, and then we'll turn it over to Kary to kind of give a little bit more detail. So, Kary left his day job to pursue his dream job, igniting souls. Through his writing, speaking, and coaching, he helps individuals and organizations clarify who they are, why they are here, and where they should invest their time and energy. As a young man, he suffered from severe stuttering, depression, and self-injury. Today, a transformed man, Kary invests his time helping others become souls on fire. He is the founder of Redeem the Day, which serves the business community, and Ignites Soul, which serves the nonprofit community. The author of several books, Kary and his wife Kelly are blessed with three amazing children and live in Columbus, Ohio. So that's a quick bio on Kary. I'm sure I haven't done it full justice, so we'll turn it over to Kary to kind of give a little bit more about who he is and what he got going on right now.
Hey Joel, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, uh, Kary. So, I gave the folks a quick intro with the bio. Anything else you want to elaborate on in terms of who you are and what you have work going on right now?
Yeah, well, the current project we're working on is Day Job to Dream Job. And look,
Yeah.
I know you're all about fatherhood, you're about parenting, and I think that this book is really going to be able to help people. I can't wait for this interview because we're going to share a lot of tips and free tools for dads how to create more freedom in their lives, more finances, and more fulfillment. So I'm ready, man.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked as well, ready to have you on the show, and I'm very honored again to say that you were able to spend some time with us here with the Startup Dad community and share with us your knowledge and your experience of what you've gone through. And I know day job to dream job, it's perfect for the Startup Dad community. So why don't we jump into the interview? I know we have a short period of time here, so why don't we get right into it? Um, so, we want to start the interview right off the bat with something that inspires. As a manager at Intel, I know to try to get people motivated. A little bit of inspiration and emotional connection usually helps kind of spear that on. Do you have something that you want to share with the Startup Dad community? Maybe a quote or an article or something that you really connect with that might resonate with the Startup Dad community?
Yeah, there's a quote that I came across a few years ago,
Hmm.
and it's a long quote, but I'll repeat it
Yeah.
for you. But I think it's really significant. It says, "A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation.
Yes.
And then it says he simply pursues his vision of excellence and leaves others to determine whether he's working or playing, because to himself he always appears to be doing both."
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
know that was like a handful, but I've memorized it because I'll tell you what, Joel, so many people, they have a great job
Yeah.
and a bad family, or
Mm.
they have a great family and a bad career. And what I know is that my passion is to ignite souls, and you can't be on fire in part of your life and have another part of your life dead.
Wow. Yeah.
And because we are holistic people and we carry that with us wherever we go. And I'm not perfect by any means, but
Hmm.
I do know that God has created us to become masters in all of life. And so that when people look at us and see us with our kids, they're like, wow, he's on fire. and then at his job he's on fire, and then in his marriage he's on fire, and so I think that you can only go as far as the area of your life where you struggle in the most because it's all interconnected.
Wow. Yeah, that's a that's a really powerful. And I first of all, thank you for sharing that quote.
Yeah,
I actually love that quote.
you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I one of the things I shared with the Startup Dad community not too long ago was kind of how I made the decision to build Startup Dad headquarters. Like what how did I narrow down to that to to building this business?
Yeah.
And one of the books that really guided me along that path was The 48 Days to the Work You Love
Yes.
by Dan Miller, which I'm sure you've read as well.
Yes.
And I think on page 7, this is how much I love this quote, but it's like page 7, the first chapter of the book starts off with that quote.
Wow.
Yeah, and when I got the book, I wasn't really sure. This was about February of last year, and I wasn't really sure if this was going to be the right book. And I've gone to a number of other books, and when I read that quote, I was like, yeah, this is the book for me.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, and it really got me jazzed and really got me focused on going through it because it was a lot of work.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you've gone through it. Um, that's awesome. So thank you for sharing that and also sharing the additional kind of bringing it to life, right? Bringing that
Sure.
quote to life and what's happening today in society and with potentially a lot of startup dads out there.
Definitely.
Um, cool.
Definitely.
So, yeah. So so now that we got the inspirational ball rolling, can you share with us where you were, what was your thought process, and how you finally made the decision to pursue your dreams, and how did you approach the subject with your family, your wife, and kids? Because I know you have 3 kids. I'm not sure how many kids you had when you started down this journey, but share with
Definitely.
us that. Mhm.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joel, it's interesting because my story is one where I actually was called into my director's office and I was given a promotion, which is funny because a lot of times people go on their dream job because they get fired.
Right, right.
So for me, I was safe, secure, salary, benefits. This is why I went to school. I had been
Mhm.
there 9 years, and everything was, quote, cool, but it wasn't. Meaning that I was called into my director's office, and he said, "We want to promote you."
Mhm.
And the senior leader, the founder of the organization, is going to retire eventually, but it's going to be a 10-year process. I was like, wow. And
Mhm.
they said, we want you to be the next leader, and we want you to take over the organization, but it's going to be a 10-year process.
Wow.
So what we want to do now is tell all the members and position you as the next leader, but you won't assume full authority for 10 years. And I'll tell you what, Joel, I was honored that they asked. This was kind of why I went to school,
Mhm.
but the reality is that I knew it wasn't it wasn't my calling, and that push that they gave me was all I needed to stop and pray and think and say, you know what, I don't see the next 10 years here. So I chatted with my wife and I'm like, okay, I either lie and say, yeah, say that I'm the guy, and then create a plan on the background, escape plan, or I say, you know what, this isn't for me, and I let the chips fall.
Mhm.
So I went in there and I told them that, and I thought they might fire me because I thought, if I'm a leader and the guy says that he's not the future leader, I'm gonna, say, well, maybe this isn't for you. But instead they said, we get it, we understand. Can you stay on board and be engaged? Yet we know that you will eventually leave.
Wow.
And that was nice, that was gracious. And I said, absolutely. And I said, I'll continue here. I've been here 9 years. I'll continue. And I worked like mad, dude. I like I got so serious because I knew that if I would have been fired that day, I wouldn't have had a backup plan.
Yeah.
And so I got really serious about what can I offer the world. See, lots of times people, when they want to go pro in their passion, they
Hmm.
don't know what their passion is.
Yeah.
And they say, well, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to get, paid. Well, what are you going to get paid for? You know?
Right. Right.
I'm bald and I have a girl's name, so I'm not going to get paid for any of that.
Yeah.
So, so what I got serious on, here's what I say, Joel. It's a mouthful, but let me explain it.
Yeah.
I say first comes clarity, then competence,
Hmm.
confidence, influence, impact, income. I'll explain what I mean.
Yeah.
Many times startup dads, they say my biggest problem is income. I say no, 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 it's not. It's clarity. Because
Hmm.
the buyer is on a journey, and the buyer says that the end of the journey is income.
Yeah.
First, what needs to happen is the first five, and that's clarity. I tell people, I say, Joel, if you pretend you're a drive-through restaurant, you're like a business, and people pull up to your window and they say, hey, Joel, my friend told me I should call you. They said I should work with you, kind of like the drive-through window experience. Um, but my question is, Joel, what do you serve? Now, if you pull up to a drive-through restaurant and you say, what do you serve? And they say, we don't know. And then you say, well, how much do you charge? We don't know. Are you going to eat at that restaurant?
No.
No. You're going to
Absolutely
keep
not.
on driving. And
Right.
so the point is this, Joel. The point is that if you're not clear, you're repelling people. People
Hmm.
are actually driving away from you.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is I say first comes clarity, then once you have clarity, you realize what you're competent in. I'll tell a story in a moment, but then comes next confidence,
Hmm.
and then people say, "Oh wow, this guy knows where he's going, he knows what he's good at, and he knows he's good. I'm going to listen to him."
Hmm.
And they begin to be influenced by you. Then you impact them. Then comes the income.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I call that the deeper path payoff. That's one of my other books, but it relates because it helped me go pro. It actually talk about it in Dream Job because I say that that's what helped me create my first product.
Hmm.
Because I went to a conference, Joel, I was totally out of my league. Everyone's in suits, dressed up, nice, and I walk in and I'm like, I don't fit in here. But I sat at a table, and everyone at that table was talking about books. And I know books because
Hmm.
I've written books now for 10 years. But again, no, your listeners, your viewers, here's what happens. You don't know what you're good at because you're too close to it. You see,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
too easy for you. So you think everybody can do it. So I'm sitting at the table thinking, well, gee, anyone can write a book. It's really easy. But at that table, they begin to say, you know what? Hey, we're all speakers, we're coaches, but we don't know how to write books. How do you write books? And like, where do you find an agent? And like, I kind of raised my hand like mentally and I said, I know the answers. So I began to show up confident but humble. You see, that's a big key. You
Yeah.
wanna you wanna ask questions. You don't want to say, "Hey, let me tell you all the answers." I began to ask questions, and I said, "Hey, do you know that if you have an agent, they'll take 15%? Do you know that if you want to write a book, you should actually write a proposal first?" And Joel, what happened is I began to share and add value to people. I call this the Jimmy Dean sausage approach. Okay, what do I mean by that?
Mhm.
I mean that you give a free sample. You go to the supermarket, you get a free sample,
Right. Right.
and then people taste it and they say, I want more. So what happened, Joel, is I'm sitting at that table and I'm sharing, 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 and pretty soon after lunchtime, people are like, hey, if you need to write a book, you should go talk to that guy, Kary. Okay? So
Mhm.
Joel, that night I go up to my hotel room
Yep.
and I do what's called a one sheet. Okay? Because you
Mhm.
asked the question, how do I tell my wife? And
Yep.
this is how I told my wife with money. All right? All right. Because you can tell your wife all you want about your dream, but wives are built, at least the wife I know, she's
Mhm.
built for security. She wants to know her kids are going to be taken care of. She wants to know that there's going to be a mortgage payment, these types of things.
Yeah.
So I knew that I can say I want to go pro all that I want, but if I can't show her the money, it's just a wish. So
Mhm.
Joel, what I did is I went in the hotel room and I did what's called a one sheet. I wrote down who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who would join Kary's program?
Mhm.
Future authors. What would it be called? Author coaching program. Uh, where would it be done? Online. Why? And I just went through this. Joel, no joke. The next day I go down to the conference,
Mhm.
and two of the people I spoke with the day before said, I've done some thinking. You made total sense yesterday. If I want to hire you, what do I do? And
Wow.
I said, I have an author coaching program. I made it up, dude. But
Yeah.
I said I have an author coaching program. And what I want to tell your listeners, Joel, is that they can do this. Here's what they do. They say, what are people asking me to do? What are they asking advice for? And
Mhm.
if they have at least three people that are asking them advice on something, this proves that number one, there's a need. Number two, they have a perceived expertise, right?
Yes.
Because
Yep.
people are asking them.
Yep.
And number three, if they can answer it with what I call a framework. A framework is simply a solution to a problem that's broken down into steps.
Mhm.
And if you can tie that to PayPal, you can then be launching your first product.
Nice.
So that's what I chatted. That conference I left with two paid clients for a product I hadn't even created except
Created.
in
Yep.
my mind. And I call it this. I say, market before you manufacture. Okay?
Yeah.
Market before you manufacture. Why is that important? Because you're watching movie trailers right now for movies that aren't even in existence for another year. You buy vacations for things you haven't even gone on.
Right.
Sometimes you order clothes that technically haven't even been made. Okay? The point is this: all other industries realize that you market before you manufacture. Why? So you can test and see if your product is good. So you can see if there's a desire for it. And then you hustle and you do your best and you get the product out there. Then you use those few people in the beginning as testimonials. You can then uh, fix your product, tweak it, make it better in
Right.
real time. That's so much better than saying I'm going to go up in a room and sit there and create a product and then 12 months later come out and announce it to the world.
Mm. Nice. Wow. There's so much there you shared.
It is. It is. I went too long, but
No, no, it was awesome. But you gave us so much. So, so you started off with, I would like to touch up on all of it, but I know you have a limited time. So, um, let's go step back a little bit. And you started with your current job,
sure.
right?
Right.
And you had a sweet job. It
Yep.
was basically what you went to school for,
Yep.
but the 10-year outlook there was just too long,
Yep.
right? And what was there before that discussion, before that promotion, was there any, did you ever think about entrepreneurship, building
Yeah.
something of your own?
Yes. But I was believing a lie, and here's what I mean. I thought that I would write the first book, and there would be this massive outpouring of bestseller, and then I could go pro.
Mm,
And then I wrote the second book and waited. Then I wrote the third book and waited. Then I wrote the
wow.
fourth book. And so, Joel, I had that desire, but here's the lie that I think we tell ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, I'll just build
Mm-hmm.
the next thing and do my current thing, and it'll just magically flow together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And here's what I say, Jill. I say that your dream job is like a boat, and it's in the water, and you're on the dock, which is your day job. And you don't want to just jump into the frigid water and swim to your dream job. That's stupid and reckless, especially if you're dad. But what you want to do is you want to begin to have that boat come closer to you by taking action. And there will still be a jump from the dock to the boat, but you want the distance to be closed so it's not as big of a risk.
That's such a beautiful, like I could visualize that. That's
Yeah,
like yeah, and
I,
as a startup dad, like in my even in my current situation, like the way you just made that so visual, is perfect. What do you call that again? You said that.
um, I just say that I don't call that terminology anything, but here's what I do in day job to dream job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm big into word pictures, because I'm a writer.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
I'm sitting here one night watching Shawshank Redemption, and I say, oh my gosh, that's totally my life, and it's everybody else's life who's stuck in their day job.
Mm.
Here, Andy is in a prison,
Yep.
and he wants to break free, but everybody around him has gotten institutionalized, and they've just gotten comfortable and said, this is it, man, we're in here for life. And what they do is they begin to let their hope die. And so I had hope to get out when I first started. And again, I wasn't in a torturous day job. I was in a good day job, but I knew that there were parts of me that were still busting out, ready to get expressed, but I felt caged. And so what I said as I was watching Shawshank Redemption is I said that you need to go from prison to plan to payoff.
Mm.
Prison to plan to payoff. Andy didn't just jump over the barbed wire one day.
Mm.
He actually went to his cell and every day
Mm.
dug a little bit of the wall.
Yeah.
And startup dads can do that. They can quote do their day job
Mm-hmm.
and they have a desire to want to get free. And rather than suppress that desire, they take a little action every day
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
close that gap.
Yeah, yeah, I love the quote, and I mentioned it multiple times. That the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and,
Yes.
and that's exactly, yeah, exactly what you're talking about. And I've also heard, I'm not sure if you read Eric Ries, Lean Startup.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So very, very similar to what you're talking about, with kind of like uh, testing it not
Yeah,
before building it, right? Kind of creating the minimal viable product, which
yeah,
in your case was like kind of like the framework,
exactly.
right? So that you could, create the framework, which is pretty much an outline, attach that to PayPal, and
Yeah,
then let that be your MVP.
yeah.
And yeah, and so that's beautiful. And then you kind of, so those first two individuals that signed up right there at the conference, you gave them a discounted price to kind of be part of the beta group, or did you go
You know
full?
what? You know what, Joel?
Mhm.
I believe this 100% because um, people, first of all, no. I charged them what I charged them, and here's why.
Mhm.
Most, I call them DJs, most dream jobbers, okay? Most
Mhm.
dream jobbers,
Yeah.
they have been doing what they're about to sell for years,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I see this all the time where are people. I got one client who's in New Jersey who's the tea lady, and she does tea lady parties for years, and she dresses up as the tea lady and does these parties, and now she's getting asked to train other tea ladies.
Mhm.
Well, she shouldn't discount her early people, um, because she's been doing this for 10 years.
Mhm.
So yes, she's training tea ladies, which is new. See, I had written books for 8 years up until this point. So I
Mhm.
shouldn't discount my author coaching program
Yeah.
because I've done it for 8 years. So what I tell people is, yeah, you can get your clientele up by discounting and that type of thing. But you're also building a tribe.
Mhm.
And if your tribe feels like we're very big at picking up signals and radar. If your tribe feels like, oh, they're just starting out, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this thing. Like they're just starting out.
Right.
I went in it 100% confident. Like we're gonna kill this thing, man. We're gonna do this, you know?
Right.
And my coach tells me people don't buy you, they buy your belief.
Mhm. Yes.
So if you don't believe in your product and you have to discount it to get it started and stuff like that, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm saying it creates a frequency that says I'm in beta. Look, you and I both know a lot of technology and apps. Google had, I think, a 5-year beta period.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the point is that too many people mentally are in mental beta where they're constantly testing. And I'd say you launch that baby and then give your clients the benefit of saying, here's version 2 with all these
Mhm.
extra bonuses. Here's version 3 with all these extra videos. And here's bonus 4. Like that's what we do. We launch a product and we charge a price, and then anybody who joins on afterwards, you know, they get the newest version. But we gift all of our early adopters, and we give them extra calls, extra benefits, extra coaching. We bless them, but we don't discount.
Got you. Beautiful. Now, so real quick question here. So you've talked about writing for 8 years prior to taking that leap.
Yeah,
Um, where did you find the time?
yeah,
Where did you find the time to write a book?
and
You
do
know,
it
with a family, and I'm assuming
exactly,
kids are showing up at this point.
exactly. So I'll tell you what. What's interesting, Joel, is the word decide. Okay, let me answer it by giving you a etymology lesson. Okay, so the word decide, it comes from the same root as suicide, homicide, insecticide, pesticide. The word decide means to kill,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a word cadir in Latin. So here's the point. What I did, Joel, is I said I want to escape, and I want a dream job someday. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to endure short-term pain
Mm,
for long-term gain. And Joel, I'll tell you what, I decided not to be part of the guys bicycle biking group. I decided not to, you know, go out every Saturday and do golf. I
mm-hmm.
decided not to do reality TV shows. I
Yeah.
got super serious, Joel, and I said, you know what? God, family, job, few friends, few close friends. Other than that, writing,
Focus.
personal growth, reading. And I got super like assassin ninja-ish where I said, people would say, hey man, can you do X, Y, Z, A, B, C? No, because what I knew is every no, every decision, everything that I killed off,
Mm-hmm.
just like a tree, Joe. What do they do to a tree that's unhealthy? A tree that has branches going everywhere. They cut off and kill
Yeah.
the branches so that the sap has
Mm-hmm.
enough power to make the few branches healthy. And so that's
Yeah.
what I did. I went and I looked at my life and I said, clip, 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 and even some sleep, even some sleep, man. I
Right.
said because let's face it, 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day to
Mm-hmm.
work on your dream, compounded over a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And I knew this was going to be an amazing, amazing interview because everything that you're talking about, it resonates so well with me, and I know it resonates so well with the Startup Dad community. And making that decision
Yep.
to cut off those things, like I often tell my coworkers, they're like, hey, they've watched this news episode, that news
Yeah.
episode, or this reality TV show, I'm like, I just don't have time, guys. I don't have
Exactly.
time because I'm focused on a mission
Yeah.
to start this business and break free, so that I could get that security and that kind of control of
Exactly.
my life. So yeah, that's amazing. And so let me. I know we got a few more minutes here. So uh, let's go into, you've had a number of books that you've written, and you kind of touched upon it a little bit with, you wrote the first book, you wrote the
Sure.
second book, you wrote the third book, and you kind of, it was like almost that mentality, like, if I build it they will come. It's kind
Yeah.
of like what I got from that.
Yeah.
So you've had some failure, right? You had
Oh,
some failure, doubts and fears. Can you share a story with us in your journey when you encountered a failure, doubt, or fear that almost made you quit? And
yeah.
take us to that moment, like maybe you were having a conversation with your wife, and it was just like,
Sure.
really, did I make the right decision?
Sure. I remember. Now I have a business partner. We grew so fast. It's easy to say, now all the success. But I remember before he became my business partner, he was just my friend, and we were sitting in a Panera parking lot, and he was like, "How much do you make per year, man? Like, if you're gonna go pro, how much do you need to replace the income?" And I said, "Well, I make this much." And then I said, and we get private school for my kids, and then here's health insurance, and then here's retirement, and here's my expense account, and I'm like, holy cow! Like, there's all this money, and then I need to pay taxes, and I'm
Mm,
like, I can't do it.
can't do it.
And then I said, and then you want me to pay you to be my business partner? I said, this is crazy, man. This can't do it. This is
Mm,
absolutely crazy. And I'll tell you what, there's this story about a conqueror, and I always know his name, but I can't remember it now. But your listeners will.
yeah.
But he was coming to America, and he knew that every other country that came to conquer was always sent back defeated. They always left, and this conqueror was like, "We're not doing it. When we show up, we're going to take over the country." And again, I'm not for taking over countries, but here's the story. Here's the story. He showed up and he burned the ships.
Burn the ship. Yeah, I know where
You
you're
know what
going
I'm
with this.
talking
Yeah,
about? He
yeah,
burned the
yeah.
ships. And I'll tell you what, Joel, I don't suggest being reckless, but when you do make the move, when you go from prison to plan to payoff, I knew that when I went pro and I made that announcement, and by the way, I had to make my announcement in front of all the members, like of the
Mm,
organization, and say like, hey, and the organization supported me and they prayed for me and they sent me out. But the point is that I knew that I couldn't fail. Like for me, this wasn't like, oh, I'm a single guy that I can just go back into mom and dad's basement,
right.
when I fail. I'm like, look, there is no failure. And yes, I made little failures, Joel, all along the way. Yeah,
Hmm.
lots of little failures. But I knew that my kids would never be hungry, that we would never default on a loan. And so early on, if like things weren't happening, dude, I like went after it. So practical example. Let's say I was going to be starting a coaching group in the next few days, and we didn't have enough people. I was like, I'm going on Eventbrite. I'm gonna go all over Facebook and say I got a free call, and then I would just do a free call where I'd add tons of value, and then at the end of the call I'd say, hey, if you like what you had tonight, we have a coaching program that's gonna be starting 2 days from now.
Hmm.
Other times, Joel, if I couldn't fill a coaching group, I said, you know what, it's only half full. We're gonna delay the start a month. And then I delayed the start a month, told all my comp clients, the other half, I said, look, we're going to start 4 weeks later because of this schedule change. Here's some extra bonuses, that you can enjoy the next 4 weeks. And then I went out and I hustled for 4 weeks, and
Yeah.
I filled up that coaching group. So Joel, I say that, you know what? You need to become of the mindset that, yeah, you might have little failures, but you are not a failure.
Yeah.
You know? Does
Yeah.
that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And I love the I love the quote from now I'm Les Brown. You
Yeah.
know, if you fall on your if you could look up, you could get up, right? So so failure, it's all kind of like how you take it, right? And you're gonna have those
Oh, yeah.
small learning opportunities. You're gonna have those learning opportunities. And if you look at them as a learning opportunity to do better next time, as opposed to failure and quitting, then you could continue to move forward.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And so you're absolutely destroying this interview right now, and I know we got to wrap up, so I'm gonna let's just jump to real quick. So I'm gonna ask a series of questions.
Sure.
Just kind of imagine, you limited time, right? The kids are knocking on the door, and you gotta answer these questions, kind of like rapid fire,
Yeah.
just to kind of give the startup dads some of the tips and tricks and stuff that you have in your toolbox that you're using. So what is your number one time management tool or hack, or how do you manage everything with the three kids and wife, and
Yeah.
going to church, because I know you mentioned God multiple times, and
Definitely.
which I love. So how do you
So
manage that?
what I have is I have something called my Opus, okay? And I got a free training on it. You know, I can send you the show notes, but here's the point. Your Opus stands for your overarching vision, your purpose, your unifying strategies, and your scorecard for significance. And so, Joel, everything in my Opus is what I do. Everything outside of it is already no. See, most people have the
Mm,
default that the answer is yes. My answer is already no. Somebody emails me, no. When you emailed me for the interview, the answer was yes because it fit my Opus.
nice.
See? So if something fits your Opus, then you can say yes to it guilt-free. But if it's not on your Opus, it's already a no.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that for startup dads, that also ties into what you were talking about earlier with knowing. I like to say knowing your avatar, right? If you know who you're serving and you have a clear picture of who that individual is,
Yep.
then, and if an opportunity comes up that's not going to serve
Yep.
that target audience, you could say no, right?
Exactly.
So great, great. How can you share one of your personal habits that you believe attribute to your success as a father and an entrepreneur?
Yes. So I'll give you two. One is my spiritual relationship with God. I say that you need to be connected to your creator, your core, and your community.
Mm,
And so what do? I do devotions with my kids every day before bed. We use something called the Adventure Bible. It's great, you know. But I want to develop in those kids the spiritual strength. I'm also a hardcore exercise. So
mm,
I believe that look, if you're weak in one area, you're weak in all your areas. That's your vulnerability. So like I'm big into holistic health. So you know, 3 times a week, I do like crazy CrossFit-ish type
mm.
things,
Nice.
and it makes me strong because I realize if my body can do that, then my mind can sell clients. You see what I'm
Nice.
saying?
Yeah,
It's a strength of yourself.
nice. And then, do you have an internet resource like an Evernote or a Dropbox that you can share with our listeners?
I don't have those, but I have a YouTube channel, and I'll tell you what, I have a free assessment. My passion is to ignite souls, and
Hmm.
so if startup dads say, "Well, I don't know if I'm a soul on fire," I have a free assessment, 30 questions. It zeroes down. It gives a great customized. It's KaryOberbrunner.com.
Nice.
KaryOberbrunner.com. You take it. It's free. It's no problem.
Yeah, with that, as we wrap up, why don't you, just to wrap up the show, why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about you, where
Sure.
they could find you, the book I know was just launched, which is amazing, day job to dream job. So why don't you share a little bit about that, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay. And if I didn't give you a copy, you send me your mailing address. I'll get you a copy, Jill. Um, so two places really. Go to KaryOberbrunner.com. You'll hear my own story, and I actually go quite deep into my failures early on in life. Uh, KaryOberbrunner.com. You can take the free assessment there. But right now, we're doing this crazy cool deal with the book where it's like $11 on Amazon. We cut it in half, and at dayjobtodreamjob.com, you get the book, but then you also get videos and worksheets and tools for you to go from day job to dream job in your own life. So, all that good stuff. I'm on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. So,
Right. Yeah, no, when I saw the price for the book, I think it was like $6.98 or something.
6.99. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
$6.99. I jumped right on it. I was like, man, I got to get this. And then,
Cool.
plus with the added benefits, the videos and everything
Yeah,
like that.
definitely.
So that's powerful. So great stuff. So we'll let you go, Kary. This was a wonderful interview. Again, I think the Startup Dad community really got a lot from this interview. And
Awesome.
we'll keep an eye on what you got going on, and we'll share that with the community. And hopefully we'll have you on some other time and continue sharing what you got going on.
Thanks so much, Joel, for all that you're doing for the dads out there, and I know that your work's creating a cool legacy. So thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Kary.
Hey, Joel.